Okay, so that first part, creating the Earth with a shadow, took under 5 minutes just for me to explain it. Now that you know, you'll probably be able to do it in under 60 seconds. It'll be the same way with this. Once I'm done explaining all of these, you'll be able to do them very, very, very quickly. Alright, for this one, we need 3 predominant layers. The background layer, as we said, we keep hidden because we don't want to mess up our history state. Okay, now our first layer is going to be our background. That's this thing you see here. Okay, if I remove the X and that's all you have. To create that, very, very simply, there are 2 different ways you can do it. You can either go to your gradient tool, or you can fill the layer, start with your opening layer, and then double click layer style menu. Remember, today we're going to use, like I said, the gradient tool. Gradient overlay tool basically just does exactly what it says. It overlays a gradient. Same thing the color tool does, overlays a color. Very, very quick and simple. And you can remove the color and still keep what's underneath it. That's the cool, nifty part about it. Alright, so we have our gradient overlay. Blend mode, multiply. That's pretty much the blend mode you're going to use a lot of times because, like I said, it evens all the tones and makes it nice. Lower the scale to what you want to match your image size. Remember, image size and canvas size are 2 different things. Style, that's where the light source is going to be projected. Radial is what I chose for the background because it shadows out along the edges and it has a spotlight effect on your center work. So for the purpose of this, just click on radial. The angle of your light source, we already talked about that, so you should understand it. Choose what you want and choose wisely. Okay, we have our background. Now, we want to create this. To create that, first things first, press U and switch to this tool. You're going to go to the custom shape, click down and find the X. The other way to do it is just to go to the text tool and type an X, but I like the way this X is formatted because it looks like the Mac X. So we've got that. Now as you can see here, there's a lot of effects falling down off of this. Gradient overlay, stroke, bevel, and emboss. Now I'm going to explain them briefly. We already discussed inner shadow. We already discussed gradient, color overlay. Pattern overlay is the same thing. For this, I did a gradient overlay first. We chose reflected because you want it to have dark, dark, and then reflect on each other with a light source in between. So it's got that shininess of brand new sparkly stainless steel. Okay? We're going to make it more realistic in a couple minutes. The blend mode is normal because we already have everything evened out, so we don't need to change anything like that. Plus, these are all shapes we're creating ourselves. We're not working with a preset image like we did with the Earth. Make it reflected and choose the color values that you want. To change the color values, you click in on each of these little dots. You can even create more of these little crayon markers to change the colors and add even more to it. So I only needed 2, dark, light, change it to reflected. Pretty simple. Okay, now we also want to turn on bevel and emboss. This is probably the most important part. Alright, because without bevel and emboss, it looks, well, it just doesn't look near as good. So go to Pill Emboss, okay, because outer bevel and inner bevel are going to make it more like a very hard lined edge. So Pillow Emboss technique is smooth because, again, we don't want chisel at all because that, again, makes it look like stone or it makes it very, very hard edged. We can talk more about how to use those later. Make it smooth, increase the depth on the edges so it gives it a little bit of shadow, just makes it kind of how you want it. Direction up or down depending on the image that you're using. Size and soften I made very, very low because if it softens it too much, then it's not going to look like it's a sharp piece of metal. And if it's size, then it'll come in too far in the metal, so it's not going to look like a smooth piece of metal. Again, this is the shading coming down here. As you can see, it's a little bit stronger here than it is here because of our light source coming across. These are probably going to be preset, so you don't have to mess with them. If you want to make your own effects or change it around a little bit, feel free to do so. Alright, stroke basically just increases. As you can see, if we remove stroke, it just makes it more pale. By increasing the stroke, we have a much thicker outline because that's what it is. You're stroking over the edges. See, I made the position the outside, not the inside or the center. Blend mode's normal, like I said. Everything's already evened out color-wise. Okay, we're done pretty much. All we have to do now is put this effect over it, which gives it that metal kind of melted metal look that you just cooled the metal. To do that, you create a new layer, you fill the layer, edit fill it with white, okay? Then we're going to do our mezzotint effect again, remember? That would be under pixelate, I believe, and then click mezzotint. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I need to show you, just so you know what values to choose, okay? So we're going to go fill, white, done. Filter, pixelate, mezzotint, grainy dots, same as we did for the stars. Okay. Now we're going to go filter, blur, radial blur. Alright. We want spin, so it looks kind of like a record, or like melted silver, like I said. Increase to about there, so it's nice thick lines. And there you go. It looks like dipped silver, right? Alright, now we could change the overlay, the mode, to overlay. But you see it still makes everything bright. So that's not going to work out for us. Instead, we want to change the opacity, because we don't want to mess with the amount, but rather the transparency of the image. Lower it down. Let me remove this other one. Okay. Lower down the opacity till it's something that you like. V goes to our move tool. Move it over because you don't want this giant circle thing right in the center of the image, but I usually move it off right to the edge like that, or over to the other edge maybe. Personal preference. Then eraser tool, and you're just going to erase out the rest of the hard image. So as you can see, as we slowly get rid of it, it's creating exactly what we started with. I'm just going to quickly do this instead of focusing on making it nice and pretty. And that's pretty much it. There you go. You've got your thing. It looks like silver. You're done.